I am doing something that you have never seen on the internet before, and that is I am doing a tiers list of COD zombie maps. I know, how original of me. And of course, the main thing is that these are my opinions and my opinions only, so it's what I believe about the maps, how fun they are, how much I want to play them. So quickly, here are the tiers. The top, we got near perfect, or my favorite maps, great maps, solid map, average maps, lackluster. Below that, we have maps that are Noah J approved, and if it is approved by Noah J, it is a trash map. And then below that, we have Vanguard. So to start off this video though, I had to go through and say the maps that I have not played and just, do that real quick. So starting off with Advanced Warfare, I have never touched Advanced Warfare in any way, shape, or form, which is probably fine. Noah J loves this game, but in all honesty, I can't give an opinion on it. And also after that, we have World War II zombies. I've played the first map on World War II, which I believe was Final Rack, which was kind of an enjoyable map. Overall though, the rest of the game I've heard is just not very good. A lot of maps are lackluster, to say the best. And then the other game that I have not played a lot of either, which is kind of sad to me, is Infinite Warfare Zombies. Now, I have played Zombies in Spaceland a ton, and I always loved it. And I always wanted to play the DLCs, but around the time, I was a broke high schooler and could not afford the $15 DLCs at a time, so I never played it. Now, that is a decent amount of maps in the have not played to start off, but we still have a ton of maps to cover, so let's get into the video. Starting off with World at War Zombies. Now, I got to put a little note out there. I actually never played World at War Zombies. I did have World at War as a kid though. It was some bootleg version that was rated T. It had no zombies, no multiplayer, and just the campaign. And I knew something was off because I saw other people play the game and it looked a lot cooler and a lot more fun what they were doing. And what I did was some knockoff whatever version. However, with that all said, let's go to the first map, Nacht der Toten. So Nacht der Toten is the first zombies map ever, and while it is a very bare bones experience, it is the first zombies map. It literally introduced what zombies is and what it will become. The only other cons to this map is, yeah, it takes like 30 minutes for the zombies to get through on the first round, and there really isn't much to do. And you could also get a scoped Kar 98 if you want. How cool is that, right? With that all said, for its time, Nacht was a solid map, and because of what it did for zombies, it really can't be ranked terribly low, because it's really not a bad map. It just doesn't have anything that makes it super over the top. And it has to be a decent map in some aspects because it's been seen in majority of COD games in some way, shape, or form. So with all that, Nacht is a high-end average map for me. The second map we have is Verrückt. Now Verrückt does what any follow-up map should do, and it improves on the previous map and does a lot of stuff better. Verrückt is a classic map. The environment of the map is really creepy for the most part, and it also introduced perks for us, and perks obviously become a staple in zombies now. Verrückt to me, where is it? Verrückt is a high-end solid, low-end great map. Next up is Shi No Numa. Now, Shi No Numa is like that little brother you have that you gotta babysit and you gotta bring it to the party, and you're hanging out with all your other friends, and then they wanna be a part of your group, so they start talking with people, but they really don't fit in, they just want to be with the other people, but they don't really fit in. That's what Shi No Numa is a lot of the times compared to the other maps in this game, which is really quite a shame though. Shi No Numa is a fun map. In terms of what it introduced Hellhounds, which became a staple in zombies and is one of the most iconic bosses in the game. And I believe it also introduced the Wunderwaffe, which is one of the best wonder weapons out there. Beyond that though, Shi No Numa is just a very average map. Most bad maps to me, or maps that I see as bad, they have something annoying or they just suck straight up. But this map doesn't really seem that way. It's a fun time. I mean, hell, it was good enough to bring back in Vanguard Zombies, right? So I mean, it can't be that bad. I don't think I've ever heard anyone defend Shi No Numa by saying it was brought back into Vanguard, but I am the first one to say it. With that though, it is an average map. Now we are getting to the golden child, and that is Der Riese. Der Riese is one of the OG zombie maps and one of the most iconic maps of all time. This map has a lot of things that people love. It has the catwalk. It introduced Pack-a-Punch. You could lose your jug anytime you got shocked by the Wunderwaffe, which, granted, nobody loves that, but it is what makes this map so classic. But it has to mean something that this map is so good that people will put up with that just to play this map at World at War. And it is really a staple in the zombies community as what a map should be, as it came back as a map that was at launch for Black Ops 3. Granted, it was a DLC and you still had to pay like $5 to get it, but it was so fun that it really was a big deal at the time of that launch, and it even overshadowed, no pun intended, Shadows of Evil. So with all that said, Der Riese is a high-end great map, almost nearly perfect map. So overall, looking at World at War Zombies, we have gotten a pretty solid collection of what zombies is and a good idea of what zombies can become. There's a lot of good in the game when you look at maps like Der Riese and Verrückt. Then you have Nacht and Shino, where Nacht is a fine map, Shino is a okay map. Really, this game mode was just a side mode at the time and wasn't really thought of to be anything. One of the things that does hold these maps back though is that they are on the World at War engine, which is pretty clunky to say the least. As I mentioned, you could lose your jug on Der Riese. You could have like infinite jug on Verrückt. Quick revive doesn't work. Knifing is always a suicidal mission. While there are some weapons and some things about this game that are truly something that are missed in the zombies community, overall I think we can all agree this has some of the clunkiest mechanics of all the zombies games. But this mode was so popular and gained so much popularity that they actually decided to bring it back for another run, and that is where we go to next, Black Ops 1. So Black Ops 1 starts out with a map that was supposed to be in World at War but got delayed because, you know, Modern Warfare 2 was right around the corner and they didn't want to interfere with that. So they saved it for this game, and that is Kino der Toten. And that is the best zombies map of all time, Kino der Toten. However, sadly, you would be mistaken to think that. Kino der Toten is a fine map. It does a lot of things well. Again, it has the Pack-a-Punch, it has the Black Ops 1 mechanic this time around, which is actually good for it, I would say. It has Pack-a-Punch again, and it's got a fun little way to do it. You get to link the teleporters, which is always fun to do. It's got an iconic training area with the stage. It introduces arguably the best wonder weapon of all time with the Thunder Gun. There is not much about this map that seems bad. And to many, this was people's first zombies experience. I would say it was mine too. So to many, this is the most iconic, and really to some, they would probably think this was the first zombies map ever created, though it was not. However, time has a funny thing of changing how we think of maps, and this is one of the victims of it. Kino der Toten was always looked at as one of the probably top 5 maps of all time around when it was first introduced. Looking at it now though, it has fallen somewhere more in the middle ground. It's a good map, but it doesn't do anything necessarily amazing compared to future maps. It lays the groundwork of what can be, but obviously is not there yet. And again, it's a World at War map that just got brought into Black Ops 1. So it really wasn't designed for what the future maps this game would introduce, but it has the mechanics, which makes it seem like it's a better map than what it is. It's a good map, but it doesn't do much more than that. And because of that, I have Kino as a high-end average map. Next up, we have 5. Speaking of how time can change opinions, 5 is one of those. When this map was launched, I remember people hated it. It was seen as the most difficult zombies map and nothing could ever get to it. It also was one of the first times we had seen something outside of the crew we had come to know and love, and people didn't like that either. It introduced the Winner's Howl, which sucked. Nobody liked it. A high round strat seemed impossible. Getting to round 100 seemed like it could never be done with a map like this. But what has changed over time? Well, a few things. 5 is an iconic map to say the least. It's the Pentagon. You have the 3 different levels. You have the main area, the bottom floor, and then you have the labs in the other area. It has always been a fun time. It is hard, yes, but it is really more of a fun challenge, I would say. It found an even more unique way to open Pack-a-Punch by having the DEFCONs activated, which is fun. You also got a unique boss for the first time with the Pentagon Thief, who would go around and try to steal your guns, and if you're able to kill him in time, you could get a bonfire drop, which is one of the coolest drops in all of zombies. And this was the first map in a while, I would say, that it truly had a scary environment. Like I mentioned earlier, when I got to like round 3, I would just give up. But there's 2 things about this map that I love. I have an old Xbox 360 that hasn't been updated in like 10 years. There's the barrier glitch on this map, and it actually still works on my Xbox to this day, and I'm still able to do it. And also the Easter egg song for this is Won't Back Down by Eminem, and I'm a white boy, so I gotta love it. With that, 5 is a high-end solid map in my mind. Really, the only thing that holds it back from being higher is, sure, it's difficult, and I do love it a lot, but it just doesn't really draw me back to the game as much. If this was in Black Ops 3 and Zombies Chronicles, or Zombie Chronicles 2, if that ever is to happen, which maybe it will happen, I would definitely love to play this. Now, yes, we did get Classified, which is kind of the same thing, but it's Black Ops 4, so it's not really. Now we get the first DLC of Black Ops 1, which is Ascension, and to many at the time, this was the greatest map of all time. And I will say, when I grew up, I was not really able to play this game much. There was like a little glitch I had on my Xbox where I could sometimes load up this map without owning it and play it, which I don't know how I was able to do it, but I was. And when I did, it was really fun as a kid. The reason I liked it, because when I was young, I was a noob, and I loved having all this open space and all these easy areas to train and do things like that. This map introduced 2 new perks, PhD Flopper and Stamina Up, which are 2 of the best perks of all time to many. It gave you a way to get extra perks in the game, which was always fun as well. And really, it had the first Easter egg in Zombies in terms of an actual quest to complete, which was really cool to see. Overall, as time has gone on with newer maps coming out, Ascension has fallen down the list a little bit, but it is still a good map and is really fun. I find myself coming back and playing this map a lot to this day. Yes, it is easy, but at the same time, the difficulty of a map doesn't really change how I feel about it. I like maps that are difficult, I like maps that are easy, and that doesn't really make it good or bad. That's just a different experience or level of play. If there's really one bad thing to say about this map, I'd say it's probably the monkeys, but at the same time, that's how you get the free perk, and there's strategies to run with them, so you know, it's not a bad thing. So with all that, I will put Ascension in a near perfect map, which I know that could be a little bit high for a lot of people, but this map is really that good. I do believe this is a map that I don't know anyone who truly hates Ascension. If you hate Ascension, then you know you must be dead inside, because this is a fun experience. Now, after that, we have second DLC, which is Call of the Dead. Now, when I grew up, I believed that Call of the Dead was the best zombies map of all time. I really did believe that. I loved the uniqueness with George Romero, with the different cast and crew that are real actors from horror films and such that are in this map. The map was beautiful, seeing the lighthouse and the boat, the zip line going across the map. I loved it all. And yes, this map introduced Deadshot Daiquiri, but we don't usually talk about that. And yes, the wonder weapons suck and you can't get to round 100 on solo ever. But as time has gone on with this map and seen, you know, it be remastered, it come back in Tog der Toten, I gotta say, it is still my favorite map of all time. Easily. I really love this map. And again, it's really the reason I got into zombies playing it. And it's a map that really seems divided at times, but I've never heard anyone who truly hates Call of the Dead. Because if you hate Call of the Dead, you hate George Romero, and if you hate George Romero, you hate zombies, and if you hate zombies, then you just hate COD, and then, you know, you're just being a player at that point. So because of all that, Call of the Dead is a top tier map, and to me, no debate on that. Well, I mean, I guess there is a debate because you can believe whatever you want to believe, and this is just my opinion. But I love Call of the Dead. It truly is a classic zombies map and is one of the favorites. In fact, it is my favorite map of all time. So moving on, we are now going to another map that I played on Black Ops 1 maybe 2 times in my life, and that was Shangri-La. Now, Shangri-La was one of those maps that I know a lot of people hated. It was seen... You know, you thought 5 was difficult? Oh no, you never played Shangri-La. You never went in that mud. You never wanted to get the DG74 whatever numbers come after that gun, the baby maker as we call it, which had like a, you know, 0.00000000002% chance of getting it out of the box. Oh, if you weren't there, you don't understand. But like previous maps I've mentioned here, opinions change with time. And truly, I think Shangri-La has gotten its flowers as time has gone on. It is seen as one of the most beautiful zombies maps out there to play. And it really is. Now, it's funny to say that because on Black Ops 3 it looks amazing, then you see it on Black Ops 1 and it just kind of looks like shit compared to new engines. But we don't talk about that. It looks so good for the time, people. Look at that. You could almost tell those are plants and it's supposed to be bright out there. With all this said, I do love Shangri-La, and I do believe it is a high quality map that I think a lot of people just overlooked because they saw it as too difficult. Paris. Oh wait, sorry, I read that wrong. That is Moon. If you know the story behind it, this was supposed to be Paris, but you know, for some reason they said, nah, screw that. We're going on the moon, boys. Moon is arguably the most controversial map in the zombies community. Some say that it is the greatest zombies map to touch the dirt on Earth and really change and mend what we think about life and truly how we operate in our every action in our every day-to-day life. And some others have said it's just truly an awful map. I think it has the most iconic start to any zombies map, and that is starting in no man's land. You don't start on round 1, you start in this room with just a pistol, and you can be there as long as you want, and if you die, you could get like 500 kills and never make it to round 1. That is how this map starts. It is batshit crazy to start out that way and to end with blowing up the Earth. If there's anything bad to say about this map, it's the gravity. It's the stupid ass astronaut who's always behind every goddamn door I walk into, even if I was just there and he was not. But this map had a lot of innovative rooms. The Biodome is actually a really unique room in zombies, and really there's nothing like it with just a bunch of jump pads to go around. Sure, you need PhD Flopper, if you don't, you're gonna fall and kill yourself, but this map also has the Zap Gun, the Wave Gun, and that is one of the most fun wonder weapons as well of all time to use because it's like the Thunder Gun in a way. So saying all that, where does Moon rank for me? Well, I do think Moon is a solid map, and I would actually put it above 5. So Black Ops 1 to me is definitely a huge improvement over the previous game. Really, every single map in this game was good on some level, and if Kino der Toten is the lowest map at average and everything else is above that, this game really succeeded in my mind. It has some of the most classic maps, it has my favorite map of all time, and it truly is one of the reasons I think zombies did propel to a higher level. So much in fact that the next game would garner a lot of hype, and there's no way they could let down the fan base. Transit. I loved this map as a kid. I was a dumb 12-year-old who was like, ooh, I get to ride a bus around town. I can go wherever I want, la 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 la. I was such a naive little kid and didn't know anything about life. Now, Transit has to have credit where it's due. This introduced buildables, it introduced the bank, it gave us Ted, it gave us the avocado, it gave us denizens, which nobody likes those little shits. But it got the first ever zombie shield, and the zombie shield is really important in Black Ops 3, and it started here, so you know, you gotta give credit where it started, right? Transit is a map that could really have its own series. Like, it could literally have a whole television series with 8 seasons just talking about what could have been of this map. And really, it was just ahead of its time with what it wanted to do. That's why you had the fog and the denizens and all this stuff that really sucks in the map. Jimmy Zielinski really wanted to do something with this, but was limited by the engine, which sucks because if he just waited like 2-3 more years, what could have been with Transit? But we got this map. However, Transit is truly the first time we got to a map that was not good in zombies, in my opinion. I think every map up to this point was actually pretty fun and good in some way and was not really a terrible map that you would never want to play. Transit is just one of the first maps though you would say I will never play that. Even if I had friends, which I don't, but if I did have friends and they said, hey, you want to play Transit? I would actually have to think for a second, like, would I really want to do that? Right? That's really what it is. And even if there was like a hot girl who said, hey, I will go out with you, but all you gotta do is play Transit with me, even I would have to sit back and be like, I don't know about that. Okay, maybe not that far. But because of all that, this map has to be Noah J approved. So okay, Transit was a low point. Transit was that little, okay, we wanted to do something big, we failed. That's fine. It was a horrible launch for the game, which is not good, but they could bounce back, and they could do that with their first DLC. So really, they have a lot to improve on, and let's see if they did. Somehow they did even worse, which I don't know how that's possible. Transit was such a low point to many that how could you fuck it up so bad? Ladies and gentlemen, there's Die Rise. Now in all honesty, I don't think Die Rise is worse than Transit. Actually, I enjoy Die Rise quite a bit, which I know, that's a little shocking. I think part of the reason this map is liked by some because they think Der Riese is Die Rise, so they're like, oh, I love Die Rise, that's that classic map, right? No, it's not that. The one thing that people hate in this game is falling off every single damn building you can. I think you can find a compilation of every single spot on the map you could fall off, and I have been there and I've fallen off it before. Also, Treyarch trolled us because they put PhD in the elevator, which you could see but you could never get, which is honestly one of the funniest things they've done. But there's a couple things that I do like about this map. First of all, you can get free perks from the Denizen, Crawler, Nova 6, Wannabe Flicks, whatever you want to call them. And all you have to do is either get 100% shot accuracy or, you know, just knife them. Knifing them is way freaking easier, just do that. And you can get free perks, which is fun. And speaking of free perks, you could get the new perk in this map. Who's Who? The greatest perk ever, theoretically, but not here. As I mentioned before, the Tramples team was a fun introduction. And also it has one of the most fun wonder weapons in the Slickifier, which pre-patch was a god tier unstoppable weapon. And post-patch, it's not that good. It only, you know, is like a one-shot up to round 100. Yeah, I will still take that. The one thing I don't get with zombie YouTubers is when I hear them talk about guns, they're like, oh yeah, this gun's decent, but it, you know, kind of falls off after round 70. I'm like, dude, what the fuck, dude? I wish I could get to round 70, dude. I'm here struggling to get to like round 13. And you're like, yeah, around 70, it kind of falls off. That's kind of embarrassing. So yeah, the Slickifier getting to round 100 is more than fine in my books because I know I will never see that day, especially since I know I am never gonna spend more than 3 hours on Die Rise. Though, as I said, I don't believe Die Rise is that bad of a map. You can hate it all you want, and you could disagree with me. And you are 100% right to disagree because it's not a good map, but goddamn, how much fun I had on this map when I was young. I was so naive, and I'm still so naive that I believe that Die Rise has a chance, okay? Which, hey, Die Rise is being remastered. Have you heard that? You can play it on Black Ops 3 someday. Look for that when it comes out. So Die Rise, it's lackluster. To put it nicely, it's just lacking a few things that keeps it from being a great map. You know, just a few things. It could have, you know, changed a couple things and been great, but it is not. So now, Black Ops 2 has started out with Transit and Die Rise. Not a great start to a game, all admittedly. So with that though, why would I play another Zombies map in Black Ops 2? It's off to a horrible start, so I should just dip out, and you know what? I don't have high expectations for this next map. But goddamn, even if I did, they exceeded it in every area. Mob of the Dead is the first Jason Blundell map, and it shows what this man would do for the Zombies community in the future. Mob of the Dead is just so fun. It brings in a lot of different unique playstyles and really changed what zombies could and would be for the future. We get to roll with a new crew this time on Alcatraz and go through the prison. And I remember I just went to Alcatraz for the first time last year, and going on a tour through the building, I'm like, god damn, this place really does look like Mob of the Dead, because, you know, I would have thought that Mob of the Dead was what inspired this prison, obviously, and, you know. But yeah, this map does a lot of things right. The building the plane to go to Pack-a-Punch as part of the Easter egg is really cool. The Easter egg story is really interesting and fun to see the idea of being stuck in a cycle of having to break it. It being based off real events and true things that have happened is really cool as well. It added the Blundergat. It had the Hell's Retriever, which became the Hell's Redeemer. It had the first time we saw feeding dogs. It added Brutus, who would be another staple of zombie bosses. And it also had Afterlife, which replaced Quick Revive, which I believe was one of the first times. I believe this is the first time we've had a map without Quick Revive in the series. It is really fun. It also introduced Electric Cherry, which was always a fine perk to have as well. Mob of the Dead is a near perfect map. It really was needed for Black Ops 2 because it revitalized the game after having a rough start, to say the least, for the game, and this map was truly part of that. So to follow it up, we got Jimmy Zielinski's last map. This man gave us Transit. He gave us Die Rise. What the hell is he gonna do next? I think what happened was one night Jimmy Zielinski just did a ton of coke and said, you know what? Why don't we just throw anything and everything you want on the wall? It's like the Key and Peele sketch, Gremlins 2. You say it, it goes in the map. That's what he was doing. Buried was a map at the time I feel like had some mixed reactions in terms of people said, oh, it's too easy, getting to round 30 doesn't take much effort. But yes, people think that this map is super easy, but goddamn, try to get around 100 on this map and come back and tell me how easy this is. When you have to rely on traps and there's like a certain strategy where it's like, oh, every 5 the sub resonator breaks, and then you got to go get a new sub resonator that you got to build upstairs on the stairs right now above Jug. Then you also got to get a new turbine that you got to build in the bank, and if you build it in the bank, you got to go get it, but you got to use the paralyzer, and if you use the paralyzer, you got to fight. Yeah, it's just way too complicated. But goddamn, I do love this map. It is chaotic, but it is so fun. Writing the chalk on the wall, getting to the bank on the first round, the witch's house, Vulture's aid. This is the concoction of Jimmy Zielinski if he was unhinged, and goddamn, he was definitely for this map. But it is a chaotic beauty of a mess. So I have Buried as a great map. It was the conclusion of the, shit, what was this crew called? You know, it's got Misty in it, and we all know about Misty with all the lore and not. Now, with that all said, Black Ops 1, we got Moon to end the game. And Moon was controversial, some people didn't like it. How could you overcome Moon? That's like the biggest zombies experience you can think of, going to the moon. So there's no way this game can conclude with a map that will be better than that. Not only though did they make a map that was better than Moon, they made arguably the greatest zombies map of all time. Now, granted, with that said, I do think this is a map that gets overrated a lot of times. I love Origins a lot, but there's a lot of things that hinder this map. First of all, it is so damn difficult to build the steps in this game. Even now, I don't know how the hell to do half the steps. I get to the ice step where you want to upgrade it, and I gotta pull up a Raffle Waffles video of like, oh, what to shoot here, there, because I can never remember it. It is so stupid, and you gotta do it for all of them. But when you do upgrade them, they're pretty fun to use. It has the zombie shield, which is really good in this map. It brought in the most horrifying sound of all time, which would always come in on round 8. And it actually was the first zombies map, though, that you could really complete, because if you complete the Easter egg, you could get a game over, game beaten, whatever the hell the last screen would say. And this map is genuinely super fun to play. And actually, recently, I've played this a lot more on Zombies Chronicles, and I gotta say, at first when it came to Zombie Chronicles, I thought it was kind of pointless because it was the most recent map from previous games. Why would it need to be on Black Ops 3? It definitely benefited from that a lot. Adding gobblegums, adding other things to the map, it truly made it a more fun experience than what it was in Black Ops 2. And I think it actually somehow, yeah, it did better than Black Ops 2, which is something to say because it was already super good in that game. So Origins, at this time, would probably be considered the best zombies map in the community. And to many, it still is the best map. It's usually up in top 3 for most people. Now, I mean, is it better than Call of the Dead? I mean, come on, it can't be better than Call of the Dead. But besides that, it is a great map. So after Black Ops 2, we got Advanced Warfare, which we already talked about was dog shit, okay? Put that off to the side, forget about it. And then after that, Black Ops comes back with Black Ops 3. This is probably the best zombies game of all time. It is really hard to debate. It is really the peak of zombies. And to start off with the peak of zombies, we got to start off with the launch map, which was Shadows of Evil. Now, Shadows of Evil makes no sense as a map. It is like some Lovecraftian, alien, spaghetti, meatballs. It makes no sense. This is what zombies is not about, and they ruined zombies with this map. And it is truly the death of zombies, is what everyone said back in 2015. I always love Shadows of Evil. It has truly become one of the most iconic zombies maps, and even though it was hated at the time, being said to be one of the worst zombies maps, the fact it went from that to being seen as arguably the best zombies map really tells you how opinions change over time and what happens when people actually give games a chance. In all honesty, if there was a bad thing to say about Shadows of Evil, it's that the Easter egg has to be done with 4 players. Like, that's kind of the biggest, like, what the hell were you thinking at the time move. But besides that, this map is, honestly, it is truly perfect. And because of that, it's got to get in the near perfect category. Der Eisendrache, formerly known as Der Eisendrachen, or Der Eisendrache as whatever the hell sometimes people say, this map does so many things well. First of all, it brings the elemental weapons back, in this time the form of bows, and what they did right was making the steps easier to complete so, you know, my noob-ass brain could actually understand what to do with the steps. It brought the Panzer back, but, you know, made it a little better, besides for him chucking electric shit at your face all the time. If there's anything bad to say about this map, it's probably that you have to do the Wisp step twice. Like, what the hell, you couldn't come up with a different step? That's kind of lazy. Besides that though, yeah, pretty much a perfect map. So after Dryzen Drac, Shadows of Evil, and Origins, that is 3 pretty damn good maps back to back to back. Yes, there was a 2-year gap between them, but don't worry about that. So based off that, that means they're due for another great map, right? Now I gotta be honest here. I love Zetsubou no Shima, and I will tell you why I love Zetsubou. Partially because it is one of 2 maps I've ever been able to complete an Easter egg on. In fact, I completed it twice. The only 2 maps I've ever completed the Easter egg on are Zetsubou and the Giant. Now, to be fair, the Giant shouldn't count because it's probably the easiest thing that literally anyone could do, but I did Zetsubou's Easter egg. Now, granted, does that mean it's probably super easy if I'm able to do it? Yes, and not just once, twice. But there's a lot about this map that I love. First of all, the Wonder Weapon, the KT-4, is always really fun to use. This is actually the first map in a while that the environment is actually truly creepy. It feels more of like what we used to get in early Black Ops 1 and even World at War, where they had a creepy environment to it, which was always really fun to see. As I mentioned, the Easter egg is fairly easy, but I like that because I think an Easter egg should be somewhat doable and easy to figure out, not this complex shit like, oh hey, you see that little thing outside the map? Yeah, shoot that. You can't even see it, but shoot it. Sure, Thrashers are annoying and they're never anything to like, but that's really the only thing I don't like about this map. And in all honesty, the planning system, I actually never get why people hate it, because they talk about the RNG of it, but in all honesty, you must be like the shittiest RNG. Like, you are somehow bad at RNG on this map to me. And in all honesty, having to water stuff each round really isn't that bad. The only step that's kind of annoying is the plant underwater that you have to water with water, even though it's already underwater, is kind of dumb when you think about it, but truly isn't that hard. And people aren't even able to get the rainbow water half the time, which sometimes I never get that because I think that's not that hard. In all honesty, this is a map that people complain about steps, yet say it's the easiest Easter egg, so I don't understand how it can be super hard to do stuff, but also easy at the same time, but hey, that's just me. You also get the Skull of Nansapwe, which is one of the best specialist weapons. I'd argue the best specialist weapon in this game, and is really fun to use. So I have Zetsubou as a great map. I love to make people hate what I do. I want to do the opposite of whatever you want to do, so that's why I put Zetsubou here. But no, I really do respect this map a lot, and if this is the lowest point of Black Ops 3, this is really not that bad. You put this in Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, hell, Black Ops 4, or dear God, if this was in Vanguard, it is way better than Vanguard in every single aspect. This map is truly a fun map. Obviously though, yes, it's a letdown from Dryzen Drac and Shadows of Evil, but like, hey, those maps were so good that it's kind of hard to top them. But at the time, people thought Zetsubou was so bad that it was the worst map of all time and that they would give up on zombies, and no matter what the next map was, they would not play it. And then in walks Gorod Krovi. Gorod Krovi is a really fun map, I will say. It is definitely an interesting time, though I would say it's actually probably my least favorite from Black Ops 3, which I still think it's a good map, but it just lacks in a few areas for me. First of all, I had to watch like a Pack-a-Punch video like 3 times to remember how to do it. It's not the control modules, but I never remembered they had to put them in the downstairs area to power up and then get to the dragons. It was just so, I don't know why my dumb brain couldn't handle that and had to watch videos like 5 times to remember it. But yeah, and Gorod Krovi is actually a decently difficult map, and it has a lot of stuff that you have to obtain to do for the Easter egg and gain like the Dragon Strike and stuff. That's really not, it's not terribly easy. It's not super hard at the same time, but you know, it's more difficult than some of the previous maps up to this point. Now, I still love this map. I do think it's a great map, but it's probably the lowest of Black Ops 3 for me. Now, as I said, it's the lowest map for me. I just realized Revelations is after this, and so we're gonna get to that here next. Gorod Krovi is a good map, and again, even if it's not my favorite, I still think it's a great map, which tells you something about Black Ops 3. There is not a bad map in Black Ops 3, in my mind. And now go into DLC 4, this is the conclusion of Black Ops 3, and this is possibly the conclusion of our storyline with our main characters. So how will this story wrap up? Well, maybe they'll do a map where they combine all of our favorite things from previous maps and put them into one giant thing. And if they do that, this could be the greatest map ever. Ironically, they did do it, but somehow nobody liked it that much. Now, it could have been a couple things. It could have just been that it's a jumbled mess of all the maps that we've played before that are just connected by telepads and just weird combinations and all that. It could also be that it took like 2 weeks to figure out the Easter egg, which, you know, I've never done and never attempted. And, you know, some people put a lot of merit into that it was hard to find the Easter egg, which I think is weird that you put a lot of weight into how hard an Easter egg is, and I don't know, that's kind of dumb in my mind. But in all honesty, I still did like Revelations a lot. And in all honesty, even though it does take assets and parts of previous maps, it still makes them feel a little unique. Like when you go to the Origins and Mob of the Dead area, yeah, the only areas that are really familiar to us is the cafeteria in Mob of the Dead, obviously Noct, a part of Eruct, some parts of Kino and Drak, but in all honesty, they still feel like their own thing, and it's really cool how they are able to mend some of the maps together, like how they can easily transition into one another, and it truly is something that still can feel unique and feel like its own thing, which I do like a lot. This map obviously should be a noob favorite because you could get the Thunder Gun and the Apothicon Servant and have both at the same time. Like, dear God, that's amazing. This really is a fine map to me. It's just that it feels like it's kind of a lackluster ending to what the series was, and I can agree with that. It feels like we had so many great maps that to end on something like this, it feels a little underwhelming. But it really isn't that bad of a map. And on its own, it is still a good map. And again, compared to some previous maps we've had before, it is better than what we've seen in the past. So obviously, it can't really be that low to me. Obviously, I feel like it can't be that high either though, because it's not as good as the previous maps, but I still enjoy to play this map. So up through Black Ops 3, we have seen a lot of Zombies maps up to this point. And looking at my list, you can see that I think pretty highly of a lot of these maps. And I truly do think a lot of these maps are good. There's not really many maps that I would not find myself coming back to. Like even Transcend and Die Rise are like a fun bad, like you come back to it and make fun of it because of how bad it is, but you still come back because it's fun in a way, but that's because it's bad, but it's fun. But yeah, really none of these maps I would not come back to in any way, and I'd probably play them all at this point. Though this is not where the mode ends because we got another couple games to go through. But before we go there, we have Extinction. So Extinction starts with, I believe, where the hell is it? Point of Contact. I believe that was the start. You have aliens and hives to blow up, and in all honesty, I don't know why I'm explaining this because only like 7 people out there have played this game. But Point of Contact is a solid map. I know this isn't Zombies, but it is actually a fun time to go in and play this map. It's the first one and really was fine. After that, we got Nightfall. The only thing I remember about Nightfall is you load it up, you see a guy die, then you get a DLC weapon from that game. But I know Noah J approves of this. I remember Mayday because every time I played Mayday, I would die after like the 3rd wave or whatever. I think Noah J would approve of that as well. Mayday is actually a solid map from everything I've always seen, but you know. And then there's Exodius. Wait, is Exodius? Oh shit, is that? That might be Advanced Warfare. Either way, Advanced Warfare or Extinction, Noah J would approve of it. Oh, and I also forgot that, back up a bit. Back in Black Ops 2, I forgot there's Farm and Town, which were 2 of the starting maps. Farm, Noah J would love this map. Town, Noah J loves it, but I actually love it too, and it's a solid map. Town was one of the best bare bones survival maps. In fact, of all survival maps, it's probably the best out there. There you go. That's your Town and Farm little spiel about what those maps are like. Oh wait, I almost forgot. There's Bus Depot. Dude, Noah J loves this map. This is probably his favorite map. There's also Awakening. Is Awakening Extinction? I think Noah J would love this. Okay, I believe we are where we were before. Wait, no, there's the Giant. How can I mess with the Giant? The Giant is Der Riese, but Black Ops 3. That's pretty much what it is in my mind. It's not as good as Der Riese, but it's still a great map, in my opinion. It goes right next to Der Riese. There you go. It's just right under it. Okay, there you go. That's your Giant Farm Town spiel in 30 seconds or whatever. Oh, wait, and also Nuketown Zombies. I just completely forgot about every side map that was in Black Ops 2, apparently. And I would say it's probably a lackluster map. It's not as good as what Nuketown Zombies is in multiplayer, and just seems like it was underwhelming for zombies. There you go. That's your Farm, Town, Bus Depot, Extinction, Nuketown Zombies spiel in 1 minute and 22 seconds. Okay, with that all said, we are on to the next game, which chronologically is actually Infinite Warfare. Now, I talked about Infinite Warfare at the beginning of this video, and the only map I played from that was Zombies in Spaceland. And as I talked so highly of this game, you would think that I like Zombies in Spaceland a lot. However, that is 100% correct. Yeah, Zombies in Spaceland, I actually think it is a top 3 zombies map in my all-time ranking if I was to actually rank these maps. I really loved what this map did. It was such a fun experience. Every time I played it, this was one of the only things I would do in Infinite Warfare was play this map. The arcade was a really unique thing that was really fun. You could get 5 perks in this game. Oh boy, 5 perks. If I was ever bothered to actually do all the Easter eggs on these maps, I could get Director's Cut and get all the perks if I wanted, but I didn't do that. The only thing I would say I didn't like about this map is that the damn Steadicam step was so freaking hard. Like, who the hell designed that? Besides that though, yeah, I gotta love this map. And there we go, Infinite Warfare Zombies summed up for you in 23 seconds. Now next up is World War II Zombies. Now I talked about World War II Zombies a bit, but there was one map I played which was the Final Reich. The Final Reich was, I would say, an average map. It wasn't bad, it wasn't amazing, it's kind of middle ground. It was a fine introduction to World War II Zombies, but really the rest of the game was underwhelming after this map. And this was fun, like the Pack-a-Punch was cool at the time. There's some interesting things that they tested out and they wanted to do with the game, but overall it just felt like it really did feel like a non-Treyarch Zombies game. But after all that, they said to hell with these non-Treyarch Zombies games. We need to get back to Treyarch, and that is Black Ops 4. And oh boy, Black Ops 4, Black Ops 3 was so good, that means this game will be even better. That wasn't quite the case. So Black Ops 4 starts out with a couple different maps that you could play at launch. The first being Voyage of Despair. Now, if I told you you could have a zombies map on the Titanic, doesn't that sound pretty good? Well, it does, but in practicality, it does not work out. Voyage of Despair was a map that really seemed to be underwhelming in a lot of ways. The Kraken was, you know, meh, to say the least. Though there is a special Easter egg where you can unlock it by like walking down a line and doing some stupid shit to unlock it, but still sucks. I would never do that. But overall, I would say Voyage of Despair is a lackluster map. I truly don't think it's a terrible map in terms of would I play it or not. I would play this map. However, on Black Ops 4, it is probably one of the worst maps in this game, but I don't think it's the worst in this game, and we'll see here in a little bit what's below it. Another map we had at launch was Blood of the Dead. And now Blood of the Dead was the Mob of the Dead remastered, reimagined follow-up map. And it's like, oh, Mob of the Dead's Easter egg was kind of easy, so will this be as easy? No, it is literally it is the worst hell you can think of as an Easter egg person. A person who does Easter eggs. Especially when you have steps where you have to like find a bird and there's like 47 locations where a bird can spawn. That sounds like hell. Thankfully, I never did that and wasted my time with that. But I did play this map a few times. In all honesty, there are a couple things I do like about this map. I think starting outside the map and having to go across the catwalk to get into Mob of the Dead is actually a really interesting start. And the catwalk is actually, it's a really tense part of the map and really does add some escalation to the map without having to do an Easter egg step to get some type of thrill like that. So I really do appreciate that. The Magma Gat is a fun addition to the map. The Warden's House has some interesting, cool stuff. The way you get the Hell's Retriever in this map is pretty fun too, though you don't need it for the Easter egg. And in all honesty, I thought this was a fun little way to reimagine the map. Though with all that said, I would have to say this is a lackluster map. In terms of what Mob of the Dead was and how great it was, to follow it up with a map like this that was just so underwhelming, it really is a shame. Another map we had at the time was Classified. Now Classified, like how Blood of the Dead was the reimagined Mob of the Dead, Classified is the reimagined 5. But what it did that Blood didn't was that it actually did possibly a better job than the original map. Now let me say, first of all, the upstairs area, you have a couple of different rooms. A lot of the map is pretty similar, though one of the biggest differences is that Pack-a-Punch is at no man's land this time, which is pretty awesome. But this map is really fun. In all honesty, the Black Ops 4 mechanics are a little janky and a little weird, and you know, like, hey, we want balanced perks, but then, you know, you have perks you'll never use and perks you'll only use because, you know, that's how anything ever works. But this map is really fun. It's cool to see 5 back and really get appreciated to be back at this point, even though it was pretty controversial because fans weren't big on it at the time. One of the biggest knocks against this is that if I ever said, hey, I want to complete the Classified Easter egg, then I look up all the steps and then I realize I have to get to round 150. Yeah, no thanks. I don't have like 20 hours to spend on this map. Though with that said, I would say classified as a solid map. It's right up there with 5. And the other launch map we had was 9. And arguably it was the best of the 4, which I would not disagree with that. 9 was such a basic layout of a map where you have the center and the 4 branches. A simple map, but a lot of people loved it and a lot of people played it. And I found myself playing this map a lot at the time of Black Ops 4. There really is a lot about this map that I find myself coming back to and playing every so often, and it really is a really fun map. Now, part of that could be that the Chaos crew was really not liked at all on Voyage of Despair, so even if this map wasn't very good, by comparison, it's better. But I really don't believe that. I think 9 is a map that no matter which crew you had on there, it would have been a good map. And imagine if you had the Victus crew on here. Yeah, for me, 9, it's a great, I'd say it's a great map. And it was one of the better experiences for me on Black Ops 4. So that is the start of Black Ops 4. A little rough to say the least. You had a lot of glitches at the time and a lot of maps that didn't work properly, and then you had 1 to 2 maps which were good, but other 2 maps that sucked and were super underwhelming. So you would think, okay, that's not a good start to the series. Now, to be fair, looking back on it 5-6 years later, we don't see all those errors. A lot of these bugs and glitches got fixed, which means that a lot of these things aren't as relevant now. Like, I never really got to see any of these glitches, so it didn't really change or affect how I thought of these maps. But I do really think that maybe the first DLC could do something great and build off these previous maps. And what was that? Oh, the first DLC dropped in the middle of my speech? Oh shit, I didn't realize that. Yeah, Dead of the Night got dropped just randomly out of nowhere and like nobody was told about it. It was fun, it's a different experience. I think it's a really cool aesthetic map. You have werewolves and vampires and shit, that's pretty cool, but goddamn, the last time I saw something with werewolves and vampires, it was very, very bad. I would say though, it is a very high-end average map. Again, it doesn't do things that are bad in my mind, it's just more of Black Ops 4 is such a weird game where like, I hear people who love it, but they also hate it. It did things so great, but it did things so bad. That seems like what Dead of the Night really is. And also a part of it too is I want to say Night of the Dead, but I understand you can't because Nocturne Tone is Night of the Dead, but you know, nobody's gonna know that, okay? Anyways, Dead of the Night's an average map. Now, following up Dead of the Night, we have Ancient Evil, which I would argue is probably the best map in this game, and it's actually the conclusion of the Chaos story, or well, I guess it's the conclusion because it kind of just ends like halfway through the story. But it really is a shame because Ancient Evil is a great map. It really was such a fun time. Besides 9, this was the map I played the most in this game. And in all honesty, I would say it's a near perfect map, which I know seems a little weird to say, but I truly do think about this map being that good. It has so many fun steps. The Pegasus strike is super fun. You get to build all the different hands of the gods or whatever the hell, those are pretty fun. With all that said, I put Ancient Evil at the top of the list. So Black Ops 4 seems to have bounced back. They now have a couple maps in the game that are pretty good with 9 and Ancient Evil, so now they can maybe follow it up with a pretty good one. And this next one sounds like it's going to be a combination of the Primus and Invictus crew, so let's see what it is. Not only did they bring back a map which was already pretty bad, but they somehow made it worse. I swear, I think I played Alpha Omega maybe once in my life. I came back to Black Ops 4 after a couple months, saw it, and was like, oh cool, loaded it, played it once, oh hey, it's Nuketown, never played it again. I know Noah J loves this map. Now we got one map left in Black Ops 4, and it is actually the conclusion of our main storyline of this game, and that is Tag der Toten, or Tag der Toten, whatever you want to call it. So this is the reimagined version of Call of the Dead, which I have said is my favorite map, and I've played this map a couple of times. I gotta say, I still enjoy it a lot. It is one of the more beautiful maps in all of COD history. Sure, we have the crew back from Black Ops 2 that no one really liked, but overall this map was really fine. It is one of those things that it feels a little bogged down by the Black Ops 4 mechanics, and then there's a lot of stuff in the Easter egg that people aren't big fans of, but overall it's an enjoyable map. The conclusion to the story could be something that feels underwhelming like Black Ops 3, or it could be really emotional to some, and really actually could be a better conclusion than where Black Ops 3 was. Either way though, it is still a fine map, and I would put it as a high-end average, low-end solid map. So with that said, we have one more game now, which is Cold War Zombies. Now I remember when Cold War came out, I was actually really hyped for this game because it was one of the first COD games I really came back to after a while. To start this game off, we got D Machine. And what Die Maschine does really well is that with Black Ops 4, all the remastered, reimagined maps really just felt like the same old maps, but maybe with a few extra areas or a little bit of difference here and there. Whereas Die Maschine actually feels like its own map and not a reimagined version of Nacht der Untoten. Yes, Nacht is in the map, but that's really the area you probably spend the least amount of time in, because you're either in the bunker or the spawn room or the area with the plane wing, any place like that. The DIE or Die weapon is pretty fun to use as well with all the variants. And overall, the game mechanics are really good for all these maps and makes every map pretty enjoyable on some level to play. And this is a very good launch to what this game will become. So I have Die Maschine as a solid map. Overall, it feels like it's a good start to what this game will be, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it's some game-breaking thing that really changes what we should expect. And one thing that really does hinder all these maps is that all the characters are customizable, so there's really no personality to them, which that's not really the map's fault per se, but it definitely does take away some of the elements that could make these maps a bit better. Following that up, we have Firebase Z. Now I remember back in college when COVID hit, I was playing this game, and I actually remember playing Firebase Z in the middle of classes in the middle of like a Zoom call. And overall, I actually enjoyed Firebase Z. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of it because it feels like it's lackluster compared to the other maps. The Orda boss is really just a joke of what a boss should be. And there's a lot of other things about the map that people don't like. Don't get me started on mimics and what the hell they are supposed to be. But overall, I like a lot of other elements of this. The Ray K is really fun to use. I do actually enjoy having the special waves like every 5 or 6 rounds where they attack the bases. Sure, it can be annoying and sometimes a little easy, but for some players, it's a refreshing challenge beyond just having normal rounds. Overall, compared to the other Cold War maps though, it does feel a little lackluster and lacking something that each of the air maps has. And I really feel like that does hinder it a bit. So because of that, Firebase Z will go in the lackluster category. Now let's throw a wrench in the game because now we have a completely new game mode, and that is Outbreak. So Outbreak was introduced in the middle of the COD cycle, and this is really an interesting thing because this may shape how zombies will be in the future. It's not round-based anymore, well, not necessarily, but it's more objective-based, and we will see how that plays out in future games, and we've already seen how that plays out. But here, Outbreak is actually an enjoyable time for me. I think it's fun to have a super wide open map where you can go through loot, scavenge, and do things like that. And sure, it can be a little tedious and take some time to get used to, and at times it can be difficult as well. But again, it's a different experience from what Zombies was. I don't think it's really bad. I think it has a lot of potential, and it really did bring a lot of people into the game that weren't even just into zombies, mostly probably people from Warzone. But it's an enjoyable time for me, to say the least, and I think that it has potential to grow. Hopefully we can see this mode return in some way and maybe improve on what it had to offer. For now, I will say it's a high-end average map. Follow that up, we got Mauer der Toten. Mauer der Toten to many is considered the best map from Cold War, and I can definitely understand that in a lot of ways. It has a lot of fun mechanics added, the bosses are pretty interesting, and the wonder weapon's pretty kick-ass. Overall though, when I played this map, it took me a while to get into it. Firstly, because it does have a different tone from the previous maps. It is a lot darker, taking place at night, and it is a campaign map, which isn't a bad thing, because we've seen a lot of maps get reused in the past, and a lot of classic maps do that as well. Overall though, Mauer der Toten is one of those maps that for some people who maybe are more casual, it could be take a little bit of getting used to, because navigating and doing certain stuff is not necessarily as easy as it should be. But overall, this definitely does feel like a solid map and does really feel like the best in the game and what they have to offer. It's a shame it's not the final map of the game, because if it was, that would be a really nice send-off, but overall, it still does a good job. And I would put Mauer as a low-end great map. And lastly, from this game, we have Forsaken, or Foreskin as most people like to call it. This map has some interesting things. The spawn room is really unique and reminds me a little bit of No Man's Land, kinda not. It also has a really cool, unique wonder weapon, which is a hybrid between a gun and a knife, sword thing. Really cool. The conclusion to the Ether story up to this point is a little interesting to see where it goes. Overall, the boss fight is somewhat easy, and this map does feel like a jumbled mess at times, in the same sense as Revelations, where it feels like you just have a lot of different maps that you try to just link together by teleporters, or in Revelations being jump pads, and it doesn't necessarily flow as well as it could. So because of all that, I would say it's a lackluster map. Again, more of because the previous few games we have seen that the final map has been really a letdown and we have a lot of hopes for it, which just gets smothered and stomped by the end. Now we actually have 2 more maps, which are Vanguard maps, which are trash.